Exodus chapter 16. On the 15th day of the second month, after they left Egypt, the whole company of Israel moved from Elam to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elam and Sinai. The whole company of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron there in the wilderness. The Israelites said, "Why didn't God let us die in comfort in Egypt, where we had lamb stew and all the bread we could eat? You've brought us into the wilderness to starve us to death." The whole company of Israel God said to Moses, "I'm going to rain bread down from the skies for you. The people will go and gather each day's ration. I'm going to test them to see if they are living according to my teachings or not. On the sixth day, when they prepared what they have gathered, it will turn out to be twice as much as their daily ration." Moses and Aaron told the people of Israel, "This evening you will know that that is God who brought you out of Egypt. And in the morning you will see the glory of God. Yes, He's listened to your complaints against Him. You haven't been complaining against us, but against God." Verse 8. Moses said, "Since it will be God who gives you meat for your meal in the evening, you will fill up of bread in the morning. It's God who listened to your complaints against Him. Who are we in all this? You haven't been complaining to us. You've been complaining to God." Verse 9. Moses instructed Aaron, "Tell the whole company of Israel, come near to God. He hears your complaints." When Aaron gave out instructions to the whole company of Israel, they turned to face the wilderness. And there it was, the glory of God visible in the cloud. God spoke to Moses, "We've listened to your complaints of the Israelites. Now tell them at dusk you will eat meat, and at dawn you will fill up with bread, and you will realize that I am God, your God." Verse 13 through 15. The evening quail flew in and covered the camp, and the morning there was just a layer of dew all over the camp. When the layer of dew lifted, there on the wilderness ground was a fine, flaky something, fine as frost, on the ground. The Israelites took one look and said to one another, "Man, what is it?" They had no idea what it was. Verse 15 and 16, Moses told them, "It's the bread of God has given to you to eat. And these are God's instructions. Gather enough to eat for each person, about 2 quarts per person. Gather enough for everyone in your tent." Verse 17 and 18. The people of Israel went to work and started gathering, some more, some less. But when they all measured out what they had gathered, those who gathered more had no extra, and those who gathered less weren't short. Each person had gathered as much as they had needed. Verse 19. Moses said to them, "Don't leave any of it until morning." But they didn't listen to Moses. A few men kept back some until morning. It got wormy and smelled bad, and Moses lost his temper with them. 21 and 22. They gathered it every morning, each person according to need. The sun heated it up and melted. On the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, about 4 quarts a person. Then the leaders of the company came to Moses and reported. Moses said, "This is what God's talking about. Tomorrow is a day of rest, a holy Sabbath to God. Whatever you plan to bake today. Bake today. Whatever you plan to boil today. Then set aside the leftovers until morning." They set aside what was left until morning, as Moses commanded. It didn't smell bad, and there were no worms in it. Verse 25-26. Moses said, "Now eat it. This is the day, a Sabbath of God. You won't find any of it on the ground today. Gather it every day for 6 days, but on the 7th is Sabbath. There won't be any of it on the ground." Verse 27. On the 7th day, some people went out to gather anyway, but didn't find anything. God said to Moses, "How long are you going to disobey my commandments? and follow my instructions. Don't you see that God has given you the Sabbath? So on the sixth day, He gives you bread for 2 days. So each of you stay home. Don't leave your home on the seventh day. Verse 30. So people quit working on the seventh day. The Israelites named it manna. What is it? It looked like gourd of seed. Wildish and tasted like cracker and with honey. Moses said, "This is what God commanded. Keep a 2-quart jar of it and Omar for future generations, so they can see the bread that I have fed you in the wilderness after I brought you out of Egypt." Moses told Aaron, "Take a jar, fill it with 2 quarts of manna. Place it before God, keeping it safe for the future generations." Aaron did what God commanded Moses. He set it aside before the testimony to prove it. The Israelites ate the manna for 40 years until they arrived at the land where they would settle down. They ate manna until they reached the border into Canaan. According to the ancient measurements, 1 ornar is 1/10 of an F. Thank you for listening to this chapter. Don't forget to smile at somebody. You never know how much a smile can do for someone's day. Thank you and God bless.